by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome in Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis. And thank you, as always, for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. Plenty to get to in here today as we're going to recap a little bit of the weekend, get into what Sam Pittman had to say in his press conference today. But, fellas, how we feeling? No, it wasn't the most fun weekend to talk about Razorback football, but still, it's a Monday. You turn the page. It's a whole new week for the Razorbacks right now.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. You know, I'm not feeling as good as I hoped I would on this Monday after that game, but all things considered, doing all right. And I am happy that we just had a respectfully linked press conference. You know, it wasn't a 45-minute Monday or so. I'll take it.
Yeah, I was glad. I mean, it was a little bit of a stinker of a press conference, if I'm being honest, but it wasn't as long as typical, so that was nice. And yeah, I mean, we don't have too much time to sit here and pout, guys. Must-win game for the Arkansas Razorbacks on Saturday. I think, are we allowed to call it that, frankly? Or are we the first to officially call it a must-win game? Yeah, it's going to be a big week with a lot of tension, and we'll see how the Hogs bounce back.
I don't know if we're first, but it's true.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think that if there was ever such thing as a must-win game, I believe going on the road against Mississippi State, who's over in the SEC play, might be a big one for the Razorbacks to try to get back on track. So, yeah, to say the least, it's very important. But we're going to get into a lot of things here today, folks. We're going to get to your chats. If you want to call in, phone lines will be open at 478-344-6623. Going to have the best and worst of the weekend, sponsored by the LEROY on Dixon Street, which, as a quick reminder, we are not doing live stream there tonight. We are going to be doing it Thursday night this week, once again, for our EA Sports college football video game simulation. It was a lot of fun last week. We're going to do it again. So just as a reminder there for those of you who are coming out to that. And plenty to get to. So let's go ahead and look into that rigorous, I should say, type of press conference from Sam Pittman, because turning the page against Mississippi State, a lot of things that are on people's minds, a lot of questions. But I think it's mainly about availability. Injuries right now is a big part of it. The depth chart came out. You can check it out at InsideArkansas.com. A few tweaks and changes there. But we'll go ahead and start with Jaquindon Jackson and his status, because as the running back who has been so good for Arkansas, only got 5 carries against LSU, banged up, got taken off the field a little bit. What's his current status for this Mississippi State game? Well, Sam Pittman gives it right here.
Well, you know, he's been beat up basically in SEC play. You know, we haven't rushed the ball well. He's been beat up a little bit there. Early in the year was exceptional when he was healthy. His health status probably very questionable for Saturday's game. But he's been a strong guy for us, and we hopefully we can get him back. But I'd say it's questionable this week.
So not just questionable, guys, very questionable. They may have to put that in the injury report on Wednesday. But Jaquindon Jackson, not looking good that he's going to be playing against Mississippi State this weekend.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, hopefully you would like to have him. I mean, because when he's right, he's, I think, one of the better running backs in the SEC, but we haven't seen that now for several weeks. And here's what you can't have. You can't have what you had last week and what you've had in some of these games where it's like after every other carry, he's got to limp off the field, get retaped, get checked by the trainers or whatever. That is not a knock on Jaquindon Jackson at all. It's just you got to have a healthy guy in there. So what they've been doing from that standpoint just hasn't really been working. I don't know that's really benefiting him. I'm a little concerned about it since they're coming off a bye week and he looked maybe more dinged up than he had been. I know he retweaked the thing, but if you can't have him in there consistently, I think you got to rest him and get him healthy and just see what these other guys can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you take into account what he said about Jaquindon Jackson and combine it with him telling Braylon Russell that he's going to be getting an increased workload, I think you can do the math there. And yeah, I mean, we've been playing the game with Jaquindon Jackson for a while now where it's like, is he healthy? Is he not? He's limping off the field. I think you said it best last week after the postgame. Just give him a week to rest off and see if you can get him back healthy. Because if you're going to do whatever you want to do down the stretch, you're going to need a healthy Jaquindon Jackson. And I think they've kind of been pushing this off for a little bit too long now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about Jaquindon Jackson is we've seen what he's capable of and how good of a running back that he can be. But kind of the things that we discussed earlier in the year is as great as he was, it made you wonder, is this going to be long-lasting because of how much contact, how much physicality that he has and getting into the SEC slate and SEC schedule. How's he getting banged up a little bit? I mean, there's going to be a lot of those questions that come into play. But you mentioned the Braylon Russell thing, which I know that was a question a lot of people had as to why he didn't play near as much as people maybe hoped or expected against LSU. Well, I mean, it's a pretty interesting comment here from Sam Pittman when talking about other running backs stepping up with Jaquin Jackson's absence. But now Braylon Russell, well, he wants to see him get the ball more.
I trust all of them, but I think let's saddle up Braylon Russell. Let's go. I think he's ready to go. I've already met with him this morning, called him in and said, hey, man, you want it? Go take it. And I think he's a really good player. I think he needs some confidence. We've got to get him rolling, to me, early in the game. But I believe wholeheartedly in him. R-Dub, Rodney is a guy that we need back because he brings that toughness, that tough running to us. And it's hurt us not to have him, to be honest with you. And then, unfortunately, we had to fumble with R-Dub. He's got to get over that. We believe in him, and obviously he came back in the game, but we're going to be down to those three. And then of course, Reed, and Reed's done well in practice too. But to me, give the ball to Braylon, let him go to work and see if he can't run it several times, to me, because he's a big man, hard to bring down, and a good player. So young doesn't mean you can't be good. And we're going to turn around and let the horse eat a little bit.
All right. So, hey, he wants him to get the ball more. So made that clear.
I mean, I don't know. I like everything that he said right there. Don't get me wrong. I do. And I agree. They should give the ball to Braylon Russell a lot more. But that stuff just rings hollow to me after a game where you completely abandon the run. Jaquin Jackson is clearly hurt. Braylon Russell is coming off a breakout performance, and you give him the damn football 3 times. Like, it just gives me flashbacks of when he used to do this with Dominic Johnson. Oh, we got to get him more carries. We got to get him the football. And then you never did it. And so that's great in theory. When they put it into practice, I'll be really excited because I agree. Braylon Russell is really good and he should get more touches. And if Jackson is limited or not playing, I think that that Braylon Russell is the guy who kind of emerges as your bell cow there, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Dominic Johnson thing. It is always so funny. And no coach, and I'm not trying to rag on Sam Pittman because we do that a lot here and everyone's doing it, but no coach does the game where he's like, man, it'd be nice if we could get so-and-so in the game. It'd be nice if we can get Dwight McGlothern in there at corner. Yes. And he's done it with the running back position a few times. But Curtis, if we remember the Dominic Johnson story, before he tore his ACL twice, it did have a happy ending there for a little bit. And it actually happened against Mississippi State, where randomly, after playing all year and doing hey, you got to play Dominic Johnson. You got to play Dominic Johnson. You got to play Dominic Johnson. They finally did it. They gave him 17 carries for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns in a huge win against Mississippi State. Is Sam Pittman looking to recreate history, which, John, as you know, came whenever he did the whole smile and laugh, oh, I knew he was going to miss it thing. Sam Pittman's just playing the hits, and I love it.
Dude, I was looking at the game notes, and it was the last 10 100-yard rushers or whatever against Mississippi State. And at the top of that list, it was Malik Hornsby, Dominic Johnson. I was like, oh, damn.
Oh, yeah, Malik Hornsby balled out against Mississippi State that one off the bench.
Yes, he did.
Dude, well, and that's like what makes it so funny is knowing how Pittman is like trying to break down his press conference and looking into the theories of it, over time. Like you could have an entire college level course on like what this could be in theories and whatnot. But the thing is it him just saying it because his coaches aren't listening to him? And so he does it in the public to try to say, is he like deflecting blame a little bit, being like, well, I want him to see get carries now. I mean, we'll work on. I want to see him. Like, what is the reasoning behind all this? Because again, he's the head coach. We all know that he's the head coach, and head coach, at least in theory, has the final say. And it says, hey, I don't like this. Let's do this instead. But when he's coming out and say, well, we need to do this, or I would like to do this, why don't you do it? Just do it.
Yeah,
I mean, what's the problem?
It sounds like 18 carries for Dominion on Saturday to me. But no, in all seriousness, I got the sense listening after the game, and I wrote about this, just like, why did they abandon the run the way they did? only 19 rushes in that game, only 12 handoffs to running backs. It was, I guess, unexpected against an LSU team that you should have been able to run on. And Sam was asked about it probably 3 or 4 times, and he was trying his best to come up with a good explanation and a good answer for why they stopped running the football in a game that wasn't out of reach until, on into the fourth quarter. And he didn't really have one. It was almost like seeing him have the realization in the moment that, I don't guess I noticed in real time that we did that. I guarantee you in whatever meetings they had as a staff on Sunday or this morning or whatever, that was probably a pretty heavy area of emphasis of, all right, we get it. Talon was throwing it pretty well. We thought we could exploit their secondary. However, the bread and butter for this football team is establishing things on the ground, and we need to go do that in Starkville. So hopefully that happens.
Well, I'm glad he finally admitted to it today. Like, came right out and said, like, I feel like there were opportunities after he watched the game on film where he's like, yeah, we probably could have handed the ball off there.
Yep.
And I mean, with what he said about Braylon Russell, I do feel like that there's definitely a shift in mentality, or at least something they've talked about as a coaching staff, where it's like, hey, we got away from our identity. We got away from what we wanted to do. And that's all fine and dandy. And against LSU, it probably wouldn't have worked either way. Like they lost 34-10. We're not sitting here being like, oh, if they had, given, Braylon Russell 12 carries, they beat LSU. Like, that's not really what it is. But against Mississippi State, you can't really afford to make some of those mistakes and be off a little bit. And I think it's just nice. And, I see some people, and look, we always talk about Sam Pittman not having urgency, not having like that passion, not banging his hand on the table and being angry. But I actually do think this press conference was at least a little bit, you can tell that he's frustrated by the way they played. And like, there's at least talk of like, hey, we got to do some things differently. And I think there's some acknowledgement of their shortcomings as a coaching staff. And look, you can call it excuse making, whatever. But at least it seems like they're somewhat aware of the issue. I think they knew they goofed up, and I'm happy to see that, because we had a couple people that were commenting on our post game and were like, they didn't abandon the run, blah 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 blah. LSU's the best team in the country, blah blah. So I'm happy to hear some of that. Although Pittman did say they were the best team they've played, I'm not 100% sure that's true.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm buying that one, but they're pretty good. They're actually better than I thought they were.
They are better than I thought. We can say that.
Well, and I don't want to throw this in there too, where, speaking specifically of like coaches and their game plan and everything, sometimes, and I don't know if this is a fact, what happened with Arkansas or what happened with Petrino or Pittman or whoever, but sometimes I feel like so many teams, so many coaches try to overthink things, where it was almost like, okay, Braylon Russell had a good game, really good game, looked good against Tennessee. People felt like, hey, he could have been SEC Freshman of the Week. They gave it to Malachi Singleton, but still, they felt like, hey, this is somebody that you could count on a little bit. And then you go through the bye week. It should have been some time of being like, all right, well, hey, Jaquindon Jackson's not 100% healthy. All right, he's not. So this guy did really good. He proved himself against Tennessee. So let's get him ready. Let's game plan a little bit. Well, we'll give Jackson some, but let's get Russell. I mean, my goodness, he went up against Tennessee. He was crucial in that. But then they start thinking, wait a minute. That's exactly what LSU's going to think we're going to do. So no, we're not going to do that, because LSU saw his performance against Tennessee too, and they're going to be targeting him. So let's just go crazy and do something different and really catch them with their pants down. To me, that's almost like how it felt, is that you were trying to do this reverse psychology stuff that didn't actually make any sense, instead of just feeding the ball to a running back who has looked really good. Who cares if he's a freshman? He has looked really good in the times he's played.
Also, I love that Sam Pittman was like, just because he's young doesn't mean he can't be good. It's like, bro, we know. Like, we are aware. We've been talking about Braylon Russell for months, ever since he got on campus. But guys, do we think that Braylon Russell's agent made the phone call? Do you think this is just proof that Braylon did find an agent and he's now got the wheels in motion, and now Braylon's getting his time on the field? I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's no coincidence that they had a meeting Monday morning. I think there's something to that. But no, in all seriousness, I do, man. I hope they give him double-digit carries, especially if Jackson can't go. You want to see it, and I think he'll do just fine. I will say, and this is just kind of a random memory, but doing the simulation Thursday night, I remember an LSU defender just smoking Braylon Russell. And I was like, nobody's hitting that man like that. But then I distinctly remember on Saturday on one of his carries where he just kind of got whipped around and slammed by an LSU guy. And I was like, oh, dang, I guess they actually are. That is possible. But he's just such a freight train. But he's that kind of guy where, to me, Braylon Russell isn't a dude. Like, you can have him in certain packages or whatever, goal line, things like that. But I don't think you get the most out of him if you're only giving him 5-6 carries a game, especially without Jackson, because he's a guy who is, as Sam Pittman likes to say, a load coming at you, and he just wears on you over the course of the games, where if you continue to feed him, by the time you get into the third and fourth quarter, opposing defenses, no matter what kind of success they're having, are going, I'm so sick of trying to tackle this big bastard. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, feed the man, give him the rock.
Just keep on feeding him too. And that's another thing when it was looking at in this game and why you wouldn't do it or in how and in what ways that you wouldn't do it. Like Petrino's a smart guy. I think that they understand it. But the youthfulness, again, it goes back to, is he talking to the fans? Is he talking to the media? Or is he talking to the coaches? Is he saying, no, just because he's young doesn't mean he can't play? And I'm like, none of us have said that. Fans have not said that. So he's hearing it from somewhere. And say what you want about Sam Pittman. He's not bringing that up for no reason. So he's got to be either, whether it's Petrino or whether it's Smith, the running backs coach, whoever it is, somebody has said to him at some point, oh, man, he was young. He's young and inexperienced. Because, again, say what you want about Pittman. Pittman's not going to bring something up that's just he pulled out of thin air. He had to hear that from somewhere.
And you might be onto something there, John, because this is not an uncommon way for coaches to kind of send messages. Sometimes it's to players, sometimes it's to the rest of their staff. I was seeing from the Kentucky Monday press conference today that I think some questions are being asked about play calling or whatever to Mark Stoops, and he was like, "Hey, criticism is warranted. I get it, but just so you guys know, like I don't really get involved with play calling." So, like kind of throwing his guys under the bus, like, yeah, I get it. It's got to get figured out, and maybe the buck stops with me, but that's not really my thing. So I don't know, maybe.
And look, and Pittman is never going to do that, which look, I'm not even saying this really as a pro. I just know he's just not that type of person where he's going to go out there and be like, well, Bobby is the one who made that decision. But for everybody that thinks that Bobby Petrino is above criticism, like, I feel like when it comes to offensive play calling and playing offensive players, I feel like Bobby's name needs to be kind of included in this conversation. And so I do definitely wonder what these conversations are like behind the scenes, because who it is, it's kind of like, hey, we need to play different players. Because I do think that, like, if Bobby wanted to have a run heavy approach on Saturday, he definitely would have had it. Yeah. I think that definitely was, I'd be interested. I would love to be a fly on the wall in that Sunday meeting where they kind of discuss the shortcomings in the play calling and kind of the way their offensive game plan played out.
Well, you mentioned him being called in, Sam Pittman having a meeting with Braylon Russell. Pretty fascinated by that, and he went to in a little bit more detail as to what that was like or how frequent it is and everything.
I don't want to call him in so much that it doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? But this one here is, Braylon has been a good player for us, but I wanted him to know that his opportunities are going to amp up the expectation of what he gets. I wanted to throw some juice into him a little bit, juice him up and get him ready to know this is going to be a big week for him. I meet with Taylor Green every Wednesday, and other than that, Ashton Noe came in this morning and just said he never really had formally thanked me for the scholarship opportunity. And so, but I don't, most meetings aren't great. Most of them are ones that we got a problem, I've got to try to fix it out. But those last three I just said were all very positive and called them in for reasons of motivation.
Did Braylon seem pretty amped up or juiced up or whatever?
He's hard to get a read on, but I'll guarantee he was pumped up, he's ready to roll. Let's give him the football, see what happens.
That's what.
I mean, man, he put some juice in him, and he's going to start getting ready to roll. So got him fired up. So yeah. This is in the most Sam Pittman way. This is probably the most like forward direct thing of being like, I'm going to get this dude the ball, and I'm telling you, and I'm telling him, I'm telling the coach, I'm telling everybody, this dude's getting the ball.
Dude, it's going to be so funny if he gets like 5 carries on Saturday.
I was about to say they have no choice now. You can't do this, and you can't talk about a meeting, and you can't talk about putting juice in a guy and then not give him the football.
You got to put juice in him, dude. You got to put juice in him.
It has to happen now. I really hope it does. I love Bob too, by the way. Well, did he seem juiced up, amped up?
You know who I blame for this whole thing? I blame Taylor Green. That's what our guy Jeff does. He says even if Russell starts as the running back, Green has to make the right read for him to be successful. I've seen a lot of Taylor Green trash in the comments. the hell are we talking? I mean, like, of all the things, like, of all the issues for
We're
Arkansas
still doing
football,
this?
yeah, on Saturday, of all the like issues, I feel like Taylor Green's not even in like the top like 35. In fact, I think he was like the number 3 graded player on the team per PFF. What are y'all mad at Taylor Green for? What did he do?
People just look at it as, oh, QB1, offense not score, mad. Like that. It's just
But
very
not Bobby
simple.
Petrino.
Yeah. Not Bobby Petrino, not the execution, not the turnovers. No, it's Taylor Green. That interception was his fault, of course. I mean, that has to be. That's what changed the game for everything. So it's just people are going to be frustrated and going to be mad about that. That's just the way it is. We'll get into some other things too here in just a bit, but wanted to get into some of your chats. Shout out to some of the super chats here. JT Hazelwood trying to choose which unit played better on Saturdays, like choosing between a poop and a fart. Fair.
All right.
Yeah, that was our very first, like one of our first chats of the show to start. So I'm like, man, we're off to a roaring start here on a Monday.
Here we go.
Appreciate you, Hazelwood.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Storytime Play says, I'm going to the game Saturday, not looking forward to them dang cowbells.
Yeah.
Ain't that
that's
the
gross.
truth?
I'm glad Tom Murphy was able to ask about the headset communication with the cowbells, because I've heard him banging that drum quite a bit, and he's kind of got a point in terms of it's already kind of an unfair built-in advantage. And to have the artificial noisemakers, now that you do have the helmet communication, like I wonder if that's impacted people in any way. To me, like I would just, like if I was Arkansas or anybody else, I would just invite cowbells into my stadium if it was really making a difference. I've never liked those things. It drives me nuts. And that's why I'm happy I'm not going to this game.
Yeah, you know, the only time I've ever been to a football game in Starkville was 2016, and that was, I believe, a 4-8 Mississippi State team the year after Dak left. So it really wasn't like a peak atmosphere. I feel like of all the years, and obviously, like, you know, you're still on the road in the SEC, people are still going to show up, but like, I feel like this weekend, this is probably going to be the most mild Mississippi State crowd they'll ever play against, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's 11 a.m. on a 1-5 team. You know, like it should be not, but at the same time, and I do want to pull this comment up because I saw what's that person's name? Oh, Elmer Fuddpucker said, you know, Mississippi State has this game circled as their one conference win, which is absolutely true. It's been circled since the summer. I mean, Hog fans can disagree with it, but if you're a Mississippi State fan, this is one that you've kind of had your eye on. Is like, hey, we can maybe take this one.
Oh yeah, no, I mean they absolutely do, and do not get me wrong. Arkansas absolutely 100% without question should go down there and win this football game, and they better, because there's going to be some tough conversations if not. But for people who think they're just going to go down there and beat the hell out of them, you know, I just want to throw it out, like their SEC schedule, they're 0-4, and you know, you got to win games or whatever. But they played Florida, at Texas, at Georgia, and they played Texas A&M last week. Arkansas is averaging 17.5 points per game in SEC play. Mississippi State has scored more than that in every game. They're averaging a touchdown more in terms of scoring than Arkansas is in SEC play, and they're not playing tomato cans out there. They're averaging 40 more yards per game rushing in SEC play than Arkansas is. They're damn near even in passing. Now, I get it. Mississippi State can't stop anybody, but they do come up with some turnovers. So I'm just saying, if you go down there and you dick around in the red zone and you're turning the football over, you could get beat in this game. Like, it is not a given that Arkansas is going to go down there and win. So people need to get that in their head right now.
No, 100%. Now, dude, that quarterback, Michael Van Buren,
it's not bad.
Who's getting better every week, man. Like, he's making plays against legitimate defenses. I mean, he's put up, like you said, he put up like 30 points the last couple of weeks on two of the best teams he'll play all year. I mean, Georgia and Texas A&M literally might be the two best teams in the league. They've moved the ball out will against them. We could be looking at a shootout here. And if it's going to be a shootout, Arkansas is going to have to not only get in the red zone, they're going to have to score in that red zone. But
and they might not have their running back.
It'll be a fun game. Dare I say?
I don't want it to be. Like, I mean, it's just because I don't trust it. And, you know, it's one of those things when you look at the LSU game, for instance, Arkansas scored 10 points. Do you realize that was tied for the lowest point total that LSU's given up this year? Like, Nichols scored more than Arkansas did against LSU. South Carolina actually offensively did some really good things against LSU.
Like 33 or something like that.
Yeah, 33 points against them. So I think it's South Alabama or somebody like that. You tied for the point total against LSU. And LSU's defense is good, but it's not, statistically speaking, it's not one of the best in the SEC at least. And 10 points, that's all you got? Man.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting, man. And I just feel like all of the pressure in this game is obviously on Arkansas. Like, Mississippi State's not going to a bowl; they're building for the future or whatever. they see an opportunity in front of them. So they're probably just kind of, like letting it all hang out. Hey, here we go. We'll go all in. Arkansas, there's some pressure on this, man. You can't screw this one up. So we'll see how
it's going to be interesting, narratively speaking, though, because I will say Mississippi State has kind of become like the lovable underdog where everyone's kind of been noticing what we've been noticing. Like, oh, hey, play Georgia really close. Like, we're down by a possession going into the fourth quarter against XA&M. Like, that's all very impressive stuff. Mm-hmm. But they also literally have not done anything yet. And so it's one of those things where it's like, are they getting too much respect? I don't know. And so we'll see. I mean, and obviously Arkansas is coming off of an absolute stinker. And so narratively speaking, nationally, I'm sure there's a lot of people, like I'm sure Mississippi State is going to be a very trendy upset pick. And so, we'll see. And it can go either way for Arkansas. Because you could say, I mean, obviously coming off that game, you would think that would lead to a bunch of urgency. The hungry dog runs faster. Arkansas's amped up. They should have plenty of motivation for this game. But it could be one of those, we thought we were going to the playoff a week ago, and now we realize we suck. Let's just lay an egg here and start. But it could go either way. And so this is weirdly like it's a very fascinating game. And just like real quick, we talked about LSU's defense and how they were bottom 5 in like every category going into the week. They turned out to be clearly a little bit better, and they're gaining steam. They're a little bit better than we thought. Mississippi State's defense truly on paper is bottom in everything. And so this if there's ever a week where it's like, hey, Arkansas's offense should be able to get things going, you'd think it would be here.
If they don't get a turnover, they give up points pretty much exclusively. So.
Yep. And if you can't do it against Mississippi State, it's not going to be done. I mean, listen, and I'm at the point where no matter what, you just have to win. I don't care how it is. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care if it's 7-3 or the opposite score, but you win, or if it's 50-48, whatever. You just have to win. And at this point, that puts you at 3-2 in SEC play. And your 2 losses coming against the only 2 teams that are undefeated in SEC play right now. So, it sounds, yes, very direct, but I'm not going to be pissed off after the game if they didn't look perfect. I'm just going to be like, hey, you won. You won on the road in the SEC. That's what you got to do right now.
These precious SEC wins. You can never take them for granted.
That's right.
Especially at 11:45 in the morning. Let's go to the phone lines and get Parker, who's been patiently holding in Jonesboro. What's up, Parker?
Going on, man?
What's up, man?
So I don't know. Y'all may have already talked about it. I've been kind of in and out. And I heard you mention the turnover on the 2-yard line being a big play, but I honestly think the targeting call that got reversed when it was still 16-10, that kind of changed the whole trajectory of the game. I feel like you're marching down the field, and it was blatant. If that's not targeting, I don't know what is. And that just after that, it just kind of stalled out and killed the drive. And I feel like after that, it's whatever. But I want to get y'all's opinion on that.
Yeah,
they screwed that one up, man. They screwed it up. I mean, if there were ever a targeting, I mean, what are some of the qualifiers? It's like defenseless receiver, launching, check, contact above the shoulders, check. It's like I really don't know what the hell they were looking for there. They got that one wrong. The PI, the next play, they got it wrong. That sucks. It absolutely does. But at the same time, like mental toughness and overcoming that stuff, you got to be able to do it. Wasn't the reason why Arkansas lost the game, but it was definitely a factor that contributed negatively to the Hogs for sure.
No, absolutely. I mean, they definitely missed the targeting. The only pushback I'll have is that they kind of did weather the storm. Like they obviously that drive stalled out. They didn't get points on it, but like they had a chance to get the ball back at the end of the first half. They just kind of let LSU run out the clock and kept all 3 of their timeouts. I think PIttman thought they were carrying over to next week. But then Arkansas, starts the second half with they go down and get points. They go down at 16-10, and then they get a stop. And so to which is when that turnover happened. So it's like, it felt like they still were in it. Like that was a huge setback, not getting that targeting, which would have given them extra points going in half. But they did kind of weather that storm and were very much in the game. I mean, it was 16-10 with like 3 minutes left in the third quarter, which is when the turnover happened. And that's when the wheels really fell off. And obviously you could take it's like that was kind of just a straw that broke the camel's back. But I felt like the targeting, it should have been called 100%. And it was definitely a turning point. But I feel like the turnover was the bigger turning point because it literally won because it led to immediate points. But I think that's when you saw them let go of the rope a little bit.
Yeah, same thing with like the Texas A&M game. This was obviously a bigger blowout because you lost by 3 scores instead. But it was like that fumble that you had right there on the goal line. To me, that was the biggest change in that game because they just scored the next play. And it's the same thing in this one where I believe it was 16-10. So you had a chance to maybe take the lead. You have the ball in your hands. It's exactly what you want. And then that play, it was just over. You're just not a good enough team to overcome those really weird things like that. You're just not good enough to. So that's
you're not going to get any in your favor.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they didn't like, when was the last turnover that Arkansas forced? Like, I'm honestly asking.
They didn't get one against Tennessee, right?
No. And not against A&M.
So, I mean, literally Auburn, when they forced 100.
They got all of them in one game.
Yeah. They shot their wad against Auburn in their turnovers. So
they won game one of the series 21-2 and then didn't have enough runs in games 2 or 3. That's what they did. They wasted all their turnovers in that Auburn game.
So that's the vibes that it gives at least right now.
They also wasted all their yardage in the first 2 games. They're like, we can get 3,000 yards this season. We're going to get 1,200 of them in the first 2 weeks.
I think that's the most alarming thing to me was, Arkansas has had, 400 plus yards or whatever in most of these games. And, they just kind of struggle to finish in the red zone or miss a damn field goal or turn it over or whatever. 277 yards of offense. Like that's some Dan Enos business right there, man. So come on now.
Well, and LSU's defense is better than their numbers indicate, but like yardage wise, they've been, because even against Ole Miss, they gave up like 500 yards of offense. I think they're still a bottom 3 yardage defense in the SEC. So like, it'd be one thing if Arkansas got into the red zone and didn't score, which is kind of what we thought this matchup was going to come down to. We felt like both teams would be able to move the ball kind of at will on each other, which kind of, we saw play out a little bit in the first half, but for Arkansas to not get in the red zone is, I would not have bet my life on that at all.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, well, I guess they can't really help out their dead last ranking in red zone offense if they don't actually get into the red zone. So I hear that getting in the red zone usually is a good sign of like good drives and good opportunities.
Who always makes good points. He said, if Arkansas doesn't get in the red zone, they're not going to win.
It's true.
Right.
It's true.
It's true. It's really hard to win that way.
Nailed it.
Let's see. A few people also in the chat. This one's come from Jeff. He says, Jaquinton Jackson has been a gamble that Arkansas has lost on. He's a great back, but has had a history of injuries from his past school, which that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think you can call him a gamble because I'm sorry, but even if it's a player that has been hurt a little bit, like look at Felipe Franks, for instance. Great example of a dude that was injured and it had a pretty nasty injury, season-ending type of thing. And it's like you see him in the portal, you know what he's capable of when he's healthy. You're going to be like, well, he had that one injury and we can't have him because you want to go for the most talented player. You can't play scared. You as a coach, you can't coach scared either. Oh well, we shouldn't take this Jaquinton Jackson guy because he's had a couple injuries here and there. No, you take him. You roll the dice.
What did they give up to get Jaquinton Jackson? Right. I don't get where the gamble. He gets injured. Now you're going to play Braylon Russell. Like I don't know. I don't know what the gamble is. I guess. Yeah. And also we don't injure
800 yards. He ran for 800 yards at Utah last year. And he was injured in that.
Even if he misses this game and comes back next week, he's still got a chance to run for 1,000 yards. I think he's still like 4th or 5th in the SEC in rushing.
He is. This was the first game where he was, where it was really to the point of, okay, it's not he's going to hobble off and then be back 30 seconds later. It was like he was legitimately limited.
It's why are y'all choosing Taylon Green and Jaquinton Jackson to blame stuff on? That's the most random people to pick bones with.
Yeah, at least at this juncture. Come on now. Like Jaquinton, maybe Arkansas passed on one of those other 5-star transfer running backs, and to go for Jaquinton Jackson. Must have been one of those other. Quinshon Judkins was going to come to Arkansas. But
also, what NIL? Also, I see Heartbroken Hogs. He's like, yeah, we gave him a bunch of NIL. Where did that go? What? I don't remember that being a thing. Like, I feel like Jaquinton Jackson was a pretty mild pickup. Like, it wasn't even like when it wasn't like Arkansas had to beat out, the entire country for him. Cause like you said, there's a lot of injury history. I feel like, if anything, like Jaquinton Jackson's kind of been what Arkansas thought he was going to be.
Yeah, and then he says that's the definition of a gamble, bro. Well, if that's the case, you gamble on every single player you ever put on your roster. Yeah. Like every player is a gamble. The injuries just happen. It's unfortunate. And sometimes
Ramsey did not pay off either.
Yeah, did not. He did not. Dynonymous. I don't even know what you're. Whatever.
Anonymous.
Yes, sir. Immediately had a bad feeling when we deferred. Pitt has been aggressive in wanting the ball that start games. We went into start the game with a don't lose mindset instead of an aggressive go win mindset.
I can't let this slide, bro. I cannot let this slide. You know why Arkansas got the ball first against Tennessee? Because Tennessee won the toss and deferred. You know why Arkansas gets the ball first in any game they ever get the ball first? Because the other team won the toss and deferred. Unanimous. Like if you ask 1,000 coaches across the country, say like 800 of them would be like, yeah, we'll defer just because it's the smart thing. You get the ball at the second half. Like it is what it is. This is prime. Like Arkansas lost. So we're going to do mental gymnastics to like poke holes and everything. And look, there's plenty to make fun of Sam Pittman for. Like we've made fun of him for like 7 things on this podcast alone. Deferring to start the game is not the one I would choose.
No, not even a point to bring up. And then, I just sometimes, man, it's just fun. SCT coming in says lots and lots of armchair quarterbacks talking about reads and decisions when they know damn good, and that they have no idea what's happening on any given play till it's over, which I'd agree.
I love this. This is a great comment from SCT, who honestly does good work in the comments a lot. Although he shamed me for saying Arkansas was going to be coming out slow off a bye. Take that. But also, no, I do love when people are like, yeah, he's got to make the right read. And it's like, you don't know what the hell his read is. You don't know what the hell Arkansas is doing. You don't know what they're coached to do. And it's really, that's like telltale way to tell on yourself that you don't know what you're talking about when you say that someone made the wrong read. Or whenever you say Jackson Wiggins has a flat fastball. That's when I know someone doesn't know baseball. If they tell me that Jackson Wiggins had a flat, they'd be like, that's why he got hit, because he has a flat fastball.
No, he just had a fastball that got hit very far.
Right.
Very
he just
often.
threw it right over the middle of the plate. That's why he got hit. It's like there's no more nuance to it. He threw it right down the middle and it got hit. That's what happened.
Also, shout out to Devin saying at least Andrew Armstrong broke the seal for his first touchdown. That is true.
That is true.
You love to see it.
Good there. And also, Ace says, can we get rid of the bye week? I think it's hurting us more than helping. And I'm like, man, I feel like the bye week has actually been pretty profitable under Sam Pittman. I mean, it wasn't this past weekend, but
the best bye week coach of all time.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I was definitely disappointed with the way that they performed out of the bye week, but I don't think it was like, oh man, bye weeks are killing Arkansas right now. It's the reason they're performing not too well at this point. So, but yeah, listen, I like what Arkansas has done in a lot of cases, but there's no doubt that you kind of feel like it's reverted back to square one, and now you have Mississippi State on the schedule. And you got to go out and take care of business. So I'm gonna be fascinated by how this team does things, and how that plays out, and all of that. I did want to bring up a couple of other clips from Sam Pittman's press conference real quick, because man, okay, so we're just going to talk about Patrick Kutas. All right, let's just do this. Let's just play this clip about Patrick Kutas and his status.
Well, I think the moving Harris to tackle helped us. I do. I think that will help us in the long run as well. Kutas, that was my biggest concern. Is a good question. He had 2 weeks of practice before this game, before LSU. And so it's almost like he's had not necessarily the same type of practice that you would have for 2 days for camp, but he had 2 full practices there, to the point that we thought that he would be ready Saturday, and we told him that if needed, we were going to play him. Obviously, we're trying to redshirt him if we can, which means we're going to get four games out of him. So he'll be ready to go, and it'll depend on the week of practice he has, whether he'll start for us or not. But I believe that he's fully healthy and ready to go.
So that comment right there of, we don't know if he'll start or not, but he'll be ready to go, is telling me that at least he should. We know this kind of does this revert psychology and ends up not actually playing, but it looks like this guy's going to play, and he's going to play a bit against Mississippi State, if not start, because he's fully ready to go.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Kutas plays a snap this week. You've got 5 games left. You have 4 to redshirt. I think Blackstock has 1 more week before he gets benched. And then Kutas takes over the rest of the year. That's what I think is going to happen.
I also love that Pittman's like, oh, we'll have him ready in case we need him. Like, what would be the situation where you would throw him into the game? Like, I mean, maybe if it literally is as simple as like Blackstock gives up 3 sacks on the first drive, and it's like, all right, yeah, maybe now we'll do it. But it's like, again, like I think it's the red shirt is the key thing. Like it's too obvious of a thing to ignore at this point.
Yeah.
Like now, if they played him in 5 games, I'd be like, which by the way, they've done that before. They played Ty Washington in 5 games. His freshman. They do weird stuff where they butcher. Jalen Catalon's red shirt got butchered when he was a freshman in Arkansas, which was not PIttman, but they do this a lot. So like it would actually be the funniest example of it if they did it with Kudus when they had like 2 months to prepare. It
would be criminal if they did that to him. And also, I think I tend to agree with him on moving Harris out to tackle being a good move long term, but it was not a good move on Saturday. I mean, it's maybe the historically lowest PFF grades I've ever seen with an offensive lineman. So I do think that'll be a good thing eventually, but it was not on Saturday.
Well, and I was thinking how funny it would be if Kudus played against Mississippi State and also Ole Miss and then Texas, but then they took him out and they're Louisiana Tech. We can handle this, and then do Missouri. It's like just have him play for the rest of the SEC schedule. Maybe they do that, but
I think that would be weird.
It would be. But everything's weird about what sometimes the decisions that are made.
Also, what's just gonna be funny is the bowl game. What if you play him for 4 games and then you don't play him in the bowl game?
I think they changed the rule to where that one doesn't count now. I'm not 100%. I think they did. I remember.
Yeah, you're right. That's Ty Washington did get to redshirt as a freshman and play in the bowl game because of that rule. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So you're saying Arkansas is going to a bowl game? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. 2 more wins away. If they win this weekend, they're not going to a bowl game. I think we can all agree, hopefully, on that. They got to win this weekend. Also, Jalen Braxton wasn't on the 2 deep. So what's going on there? Well, Sam Pittman also went into a little bit of Jalen Braxton.
Yes, I don't think he'll be available. Not the rest of the year. I just think it would be at least after the second bye.
Okay, so it's not for the whole season, but he ain't going to be playing until Texas. That's what it sounds like to us.
From tendonitis to bone bruise to he has a leg injury is where that has gone. And Sam Pittman said he would leave it at that. He has played in 2 games. He gets 2 more to preserve a redshirt opportunity. So I don't think he'll play directly after that bye either. If that's what they're trying to do, like why bring him back and play him 3 games and burn that thing? Unless they do the deal where it's like, yeah, dude, play Texas and then we'll let you watch against Louisiana Tech. But it's weird being in a situation with so many guys who are expected to be. I mean, this is not like the true freshman. Do we need him so much that we just need to burn this shirt or whatever? Like these are 2 dudes who are projected starters and big time pieces for you in positions where you're not very deep, and you're having to kind of weigh and balance this. How many games can we play him in? Are they healthy? Whatever. It's tricky. But then, and Pittman even said later about Braxton, like this is just his assumption because basically he's saying we feel like Kudus is ready or could have played. Braxton's just not. Like he is legitimately injured to the point where we think it's going to be at that time at the earliest, maybe. So who the hell knows, actually?
And I'm also starting to wonder, there was a point where Braxton returned to practice, right? Because he was potentially going to play in one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing happened with Kudus earlier in the year. I'm wondering if both guys, which Kudus, this happened a long time ago. I think bringing him back to practice might have re-injured something. You know what I mean? I think like whatever the initial injury is, I don't think that's what we're dealing with. And I think that this is a subsequent, or, I know that a lot of people have been speculating that like Braxton's like leaving the team or transferring or whatever. Like perhaps that's a decision Braxton and his family are making of like, hey, we don't want to waste our red shirt. I actually saw some quarterback, Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold. I saw him talking about this where he's like, I told the coaches, like, don't put me in unless like I'm like playing. He was like, but if you're just going to like bring me in for some meaningless snaps. So maybe Braxton is kind of speaking to the coaching staff about that, and Pittman didn't want to throw him under the bus, which I think is very possible. So yeah, it's just a very weird situation, especially when it all started with bone bruise.
Yeah, that's something where I don't envy their position because, like you said, Curtis, like these are guys that can help you, and Jalen Braxton especially. So it's like if he can go, you want him to go, you need him to go, he has to go. But I mean, is it going to be worth possibly burning that red shirt and then to? If he's not 100% or if he ends up re-injuring it or injuring it worse, there's just a lot of things where it's like, I'm not feeling sorry for anybody, but it's true. It's like if I'm Pittman, if I'm the team, I'm like, man, I'm in a pickle here.
Yeah,
it's tough right now. I hate it.
Man. I mean, you're playing the long game with the career of these players, but like you don't necessarily have a long game yourself as the head coach at Arkansas. It's like you really need to put yourself in the best position to win, but you can't just screw over a kid because that impacts them. It impacts you in recruiting. Yeah, it's tricky, man, for sure.
Just thank God Taylor Green's bone bruise wasn't as devastating as Jalen Braxton's.
As soon as Pittman said bone bruise about that, I was like, oh, God, here we go.
Like our boy SCT says, I feel like Pittman just learned what a bone bruise is this offseason, and now it's just his favorite word. None of these guys actually have bone bruises.
It's gonna go down in the knee management levels of injury history with Arkansas athletics. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a leg.
That was a good one.
Dude, I'm just going to start saying that all the time. If I'm like hurting or if I'm aching or if I'm sore, it's bone bruises. Can't do it, anything. Sorry. And then if somebody says, well, what is that? Oh, it's a bruise on the bone.
Leg. That's just a leg. Let's just leave it at
leg. It's a finger, or whatever. It's a phalange. What do you want to do about it? But yeah, so basically, overall, it looks like as of this point in time, I'm sure it's subject to change and I'm sure it will change. But the big injuries, Jaquin Jackson probably won't go against Mississippi State. Jalen Braxton for sure is not going to go against Mississippi State. And Patrick Kudas could even start. So for the big injuries and for the big players, looks like that's the case.
I hope that clears it up.
Yeah, seriously.
Are we going to make it through this entire conversation without you bringing up Hudson Clark?
I was waiting for that, dude. I was waiting for the Hudson Clark. You mean CB1 Hudson Clark?
Well, I was wanting to make sure that everybody understood, let their own reactions settle in before I got into that. But I'm telling you, this man's the jack of all trades. Find me another player that is playing all the positions like this guy is. I mean, for real. Find me a player like that. It's the heart, determination, cornerback. I'll say, but in all honesty, guys, like, I know I'm a big Hudson Clark fan, and a lot of it is the tongue-in-cheek mainly because he's not as bad as what people always try to make him out to be. But I will say, he is a safety. He does not need to play cornerback. He just doesn't. It's not his position. He's a much better safety than he is. But I will just play the clip. Here's what Sam Pittman talked about with Hudson Clark and his performance.
Well, I think he's earned the right to start for us. Played a lot of ball out there. Like I said, he got beat on a double move, but he didn't the other times. And I think he's a smart player. He cares. He cares about the university and playing for the Razorbacks, and he's got speed. And I'm proud of him, and I think he'll just get better and better. And he's tough. I think his back's still hurting him a little bit.
Guys, that would be something that I would say if I was asked about Hudson Clark. Well, he's tough. Loves the Hogs. A lot of heart. He's got speed. He got burned on that one, but that was only that one time when that happened. So it's like, man, Sam Pittman's been going to the school of John Neighbors' support for Hudson Clark on that one right there, buddy.
And then he was added to the depth chart at corner, right, Andrew?
Okay, they have him listed as they have Jaheim Singletary or Keon Stewart at one of the corner spots. But they also have Marquise Robinson or Jaheim Singletary or Keon Stewart at the other corner spot. And then Hudson Clark is behind one of those. But Hudson Clark is also the primary backup to TJ Metcalf at safety. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just crazy how these things work out, man. But they moved Jalen Braxton out, and they were like, we're just going to have to just wing it here and just throw things around. So Keon Stewart, Jaheim Singletary, and Hudson Clark are maybe all starters or none of them starting. I don't know.
Yeah,
well, we'll see. We got to the point now. I mean, Al Bill's on here. He's like, Hudson's the reason we lost. Oh, remember last year they picked on Clark after every game. So we've already we start with Jaquin Jackson, now Taylor Green, and Hudson Clark. the three biggest impacts on the negativity of the Arkansas Razorback football team has been because of those three individuals, and that's why they're sitting at only 4-3.
We're checking off all the most polarizing guys. But honestly, Hudson Clark should be thanking Garrett Nussmeier for double clutching and underthrowing that one where he did get burned, because it would have been like a 58-yard touchdown and ended up being just like a 25-yard complete.
Could have been a tough one. I didn't realize he played as much in coverage as he did. He played like 19 snaps in coverage. He played 31 total in the game. Like he's back in the mix.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, I mean, the reason that he underthrew that is because he was worried that if he threw it on target, then no fly zone was going to come in there like he did in our simulation last week and then take care of business. So just saying. Which, by the way, like I don't know, I can't remember if we did talk about this on our post game show or anything. But how crazy is it though that our last week's video game simulation was the exact right score, just the different teams? That's pretty insane.
I would have preferred the other way around, but yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
34-10. And this time it didn't go Arkansas's way. But, man, it's accurate. It's accurate.
Brutal.
Even though Harold Perkins still played in that game and Jalen Braxton and all them still played in it. All right, so we'll get to some more of your chats here in a little bit too, and we'll dive into that. And I did want to bring up, of course, your question of the day presented by Alumni Hall here in Fayetteville, 3417 North College Avenue. Really appreciate them having us out there this past week. And rumor has it we're going to be back out there on Friday before the Texas game. So November 15th will be the time frame. So it looks like we'll be doing another one of those there in the month of November. But appreciate them. You can go to alumnihall.com/Arkansas-Razorbacks for all of your Razorback apparel. It's the #1 Razorback apparel place in the country. You can't get anything better than what they got. And you can shop them online. You can go in store. Promise you won't be disappointed at all. But just a simple one to ask on Twitter is just what was the most disappointing part of the Arkansas loss to LSU on Saturday night? Because I think everybody kind of had their own reasons behind it. And I made sure to specifically say other than the final score, because that's usually what people are going to go for. And don't worry, though, somebody else decided to come in there with the most liked comment saying the lack of offense and defense and special teams is what disappointed them. So I'm like, okay, great. Man, we're dealing with a lot of smart people here in this and creative people here. But Tyler does say, witnessing another missed opportunity in a big moment with the potential to bring in national relevance and strong momentum. Losing is one thing, but we laid an egg and flat out looked unprepared yet again. I think that's probably how a lot of Razorback fans felt. And also, Joe says the lack of energy I saw our guys had from the start. I posted the first minute of the game was something wrong. Something was wrong. That's what he says. And then Scott says losing the turnover battle again. That's every loss. Ronnie says sloppy play and not focused despite the bye week. And also Brooks says LSU third down conversions, which, man, I'll admit that one was really frustrating to see, where it's almost like anytime they needed a third down conversion, they got it by like a half a yard or a yard. It was always really close. So, but that's.
I feel like Arkansas losing the rushing battle by 120 yards. Like, we've talked about the run game at Arkansas not running the ball, and that's disappointing. And that was like kind of the reason I feel like they, you could tell things were going to go amok there. But Arkansas giving up 160 yards on the ground, I feel like might be just as concerning, because I mean that's an LSU team that does not pride themselves in their ground game. And yeah, I think I saw some people that were just like, hey, losing the line of scrimmage, period, on both sides of it, which, like, look, happens when you face better teams sometimes. But I mean, I wouldn't say Arkansas was necessarily the better team on the line of scrimmage against Tennessee, but they found a way to get that one done and found a way to commit to the run and do some good things there. Letting LSU run all over you is just not something I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, I like the way you put it there, losing that battle by over 100 yards, because I was torn between Arkansas just not running or even attempting to establish the run versus LSU kind of being able to control things on the ground there. So I'll go with yours.
Yeah, that's still mind-boggling. Just not the rushing attack, knowing that they struggle against the rushing attack, not even really trying for the rushing attack, even though you have a pretty decent rushing attack. Can't believe that didn't work out for them. Let's go back to the chat here. Jeremy says, John, when is enough outside of 2021? And is it not evident that PIttman cannot sustain success? This is year 5, for God's sakes. Is our goal just to win more than Chad? I don't know, like, if this is like specifically calling out anything that we've talked about, but I don't know what you're saying. Like people are feeling
job reference, like, is enough to like fire Sam Pittman. I don't know if like right now is necessarily the time to do this.
No. That's the thing, is like, are you just going to fire him after that game? Okay, well, if you don't want him to be the coach next year, and if he doesn't deserve to be the coach next year, guess what? He's not going to be the coach next year. I don't think it matters if you fire him now or fire him 2 weeks from now or 5 weeks from now. Like, that's not going to change anything. So if it happens, it'll happen. Simple as that.
Is football the same as basketball, to where if there's a coaching change, the portal automatically opens for 30 days on the spot?
I don't know, actually. It's a good question.
not that anybody could just transfer and play right away somewhere else, but if like that would kind of open the floodgates for people just like the hell with this. And I don't know.
Regardless of if they can enter the portal or not, it's a good way to just go ahead and end your season.
Exactly.
Regardless, you know what I mean? And like, I know some people are like, well, if you give Bobby P the keys, it'll just be, it'll be magic. But I do really think like, that's why they're not going to fire him mid-season, especially at this point. Like if you were going to fire him mid-season, it would be like early in the season, weirdly enough. Like if they had just started like 1-3 and looked horrible, it'd be like, okay, maybe they'll just do something here. But I think at this point, like, I don't know what Arkansas can, like, I don't know, whatever you want to say, like whether they can go 8-4, 7-5, maybe you think they can win out, whatever your highest, ceiling is, you're not going to reach it if you fire your coach right now. And so I don't think there's any value in doing it yet. But to answer the initial question, like, would enough be enough? Like at the end of the year, that's when you can evaluate it. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah,
it'll probably be enough. And then they'll decide and make a change if it's not enough. And they'll try to find somebody that will be enough.
They might decide that it's not enough and they will not make a change. Those are the options.
That would be so much fun to talk about, where if you go 6-6 or 6-7 with a bowl loss, and then I don't even want to think about it.
Look, if they lose this weekend, this conversation really becomes a relevant topic. It really does.
It does. Yep.
But like, that's, they win and we got to tail it a little bit. It's just how it works.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. As the folks say.
There we go.
Bill was saying, what was the most disappointing time in the LSU loss was me falling asleep in the before the second half. Which is, I guess, Andrew, maybe you highlight this, but I will say, I don't know of a more forgettable game that Sam Pittman's had in SEC play than that one. That was about as forgettable as I've ever watched. Just like with all the energy and excitement going into it, to just kind of be like, I don't care nothing about that. There was nothing interesting about that game necessarily. So.
Yeah, I'd love to forget that game. But I will say, when we were walking up to meet you over at the tailgate, John, me and Curtis it was like 12:30, and Curtis and I just walked right down Maple. It took everyone a really long time to even get out and start tailgating for the game. And, I don't know, I wasn't in the stadium, so I don't know what the atmosphere, but I just mean like there was not a buzz in the air on Saturday. And it didn't feel like it was a big game. Like for the Tennessee game, for whatever reason, being around Fayetteville that weekend felt way different. Like there was a real excitement. Did not feel the same buzz up until like closer to kickoff when, tailgate started filling up a little bit. But like the fact that we were able to like just walk right up and get to, walk right through Maple, there was just nobody out there. It was kind of crazy. It took them that long.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I know you guys walked around more than I did, because I was kind of just in my spot from 6 a.m. till on. But yeah, that's a good point. In the game atmosphere was incredible. I mean, it really was. You saw the noise level. It led to how many false starts? Did LSU have like 6, 7?
I think at least 6 or 7. I think they might even been 8.
So the crowd was really good and atmospheric there. But yeah, maybe it's just because Tennessee was unique and weird or whatever. I don't know.
I do want to clarify. The crowd when the game started was absolutely good, but I just meant like it like throughout the week and on that day, it didn't feel like there was like a big game feel. In which, like, once you get in there and it's 6 o'clock and people have had their drinks, the crowd showed up and showed out. I just felt like I didn't get the same buzz, I was getting for that Tennessee game.
Yeah. Okay. And also to that, can I bring this up, guys? LSU, Brian Kelly, everybody, their social media team or whatever, made a big deal about this game being homecoming. Can we drop this thing that homecoming is still a thing and that matters? Like, listen, I understand that back in the heyday of college football, when homecoming meant that it was all your boosters, the donors, everybody, that was their game to come to, and it meant something because you wanted to make sure you won. It was almost like a recruiting trip, an official visit for your people across the country, because that was the big deal to come through. But this idea that if you make it a homecoming game, it's some sort of slight against you. It's like, oh, so you're thinking you're going to beat us? Oh, I'm sorry. What game could Arkansas have made their homecoming then? Like you're going to do Louisiana? It's too late for Louisiana Tech.
November 23rd homecoming.
Yeah, like when are you going to do that? So I just think it's so lame. And I'm not talking about just for LSU, but anybody that tries to make homecoming sound like making this big game, big match, something that matters, because it does not matter at all.
No, homecoming matters in high school for Friday Night Lights. That's it.
I'm glad y'all said that, because my future father-in-law was asking me about this the other day. He's like, dude, why'd they make LSU their homecoming game? And I'm like, dude, I didn't even know it was homecoming until like that when we were at the LEROY that Thursday night, we were like, oh, I guess it's homecoming. Well, like homecoming really is not a big deal in college football anymore. And like, I mean, I don't know what Arkansas's homecoming game was last year. When I'm watching college football every Saturday, I have no idea who's doing homecoming, who's not. Like, it's really just not a thing. And also, if it were a thing, though, wouldn't you want your homecoming game to be like a big game? Like hey, let's invite because obviously homecoming is a real actual event and stuff. People do come to the school, but I'm like, wouldn't you want them to come to like a big game? Like, oh, LSU Arkansas, that's got some buzz, rather than the cold Louisiana Tech game?
Yeah. I don't understand it. And it just was weird that they kept harping on that. It was like, oh, homecoming. Yeah, homecoming. Okay, whatever. It's like making it any sort of event that's going to, it's Mom's Day. Oh, they made this game on Mom's Day. It's like, okay.
Certainly, I really seriously do not think it was a thing where Arkansas was like, we're going to beat LSU. So
no,
that's where we're penciling them in homecoming.
It's weird to me that coaches feel the need to seek motivation outside of just going out there and playing a football game against another team. It's so weird, like
you only get like 5 home games a year.
Were you homecoming? Really? It's just like Kirby Smart after the game. Nobody gave us a chance. Your whole network didn't give us a damn chance against Texas. People gave you a chance. Listen, brother. You're Georgia, okay? Nobody's overlooking you, guy. Relax.
I've got the receipts, Kirby Smart. There were some very smart people in the media that profited off of your success. Trust me, we gave you a chance.
Yeah, it's almost like the worst thing that ever happened was the Last Dance Netflix special with the 98 Bulls, because when the meme of Jordan's like, and then I took it personally. Everyone's like, oh, well, you want to follow the GOAT. So he just found things to make it personal. So we got to as well. Just pulling stuff out of our rear end. Be like, we got to take it personally. Yeah, shut up. Anyways, that's our question of the day. We can go ahead and also jump into one of my favorite segments of the week is best of worst of the weekend, sponsored by the LEROY Lounge, which once again, folks, I saw somebody in the chat asking next time that we're going to be there, because they're going to be there. We're not going to be there tonight. It's going to be Thursday night at 7 p.m. We will be there at the LEROY on Dixon Street doing our EA Sports College Football Simulation, which it was pretty fun. We had some bros in the place next to us. They were watching it pretty seriously over there, man, thinking it was going to be real life. So, but yeah, we're going to live stream that there at the LEROY. So come pull up and see us on this Thursday, for Arkansas and Mississippi State EA Sports Simulation there. I'll go ahead and kick it off, though, with my best of the weekend. And I actually meant to put this picture up, and I don't think I did. Oh, yeah, I heard it. So I will say, of the game, this was pretty cool. This is a little picture I took. They did the drone show. I like that. Like they had some other graphics there, too, but sometimes it could just be generic of letters or go team. But when they did that, I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. Of course, if you're living under a rock and you don't recognize that, folks, that's Darren McFadden of We Got That Wood, and making it that way. So that was a really cool thing. That was about the only cool thing of the game if you're a Razorback fan. But that was definitely worth the price of admission and pretty cool. So that was my best of the weekend, seeing a drone show at the Razorback game.
I like that. I kind of felt the same way when I was thinking about this, and I'm not just going to out the name because I don't want to give that information to the people, but your tailgate with your buddies, that was a great time. I had a hell of a time out there. It was an awesome setup. We really enjoyed it. That was a lot of fun. And outside of that, did you guys see, first of all, USC losing to Maryland in football is that's a beautiful thing. But did you guys see the victory formation at the end of the game when they put
I did not, and so I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Hey, I'm going to play it. We'll see what YouTube thinks about it, but if we got to clip it later, we will. Okay, here we go.
USC can call a timeout if they want. Nope, and they won't. So that
I like that. I love that. I don't know. That might be the first time I've seen something like that. Sign me up for more alley-oop celebrations. That's better than the Ole Miss dunking it on the sidelines after like you sealed the win and then you put the exclamation point on with a lob. That's good stuff, man.
For some reason, you know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of when Oklahoma City, whenever Russ and KD were playing together in OKC, that when they would win the tip, KD, or no, actually it wasn't KD. It was Steven Adams. They used to roll the ball to Russ, and it was like a weird thing they would do, like where he would get the thing and he would roll it to Russ, and it was kind of like their opening game tradition. This is obviously the end of the game. My big takeaway from that video is USC sucks.
Yeah, they're bad.
They're
Yep.
like the worst Big Ten team in the country, and they beat LSU. What the hell?
Mhm.
Lincoln Riley closed down practice too.
Hashtag college football. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, two things. One on that celebration. I'm glad they executed it, because if they would have screwed that one up, that would have been a tough look.
That's a very tough look.
Yeah, because at least they ooped it the right way. So that's
Or
number
if
one.
they had just snapped the ball and not kneeled and then went into the celebration.
Forgot.
Yeah.
Yep. That would have been.
Backward spike. Oops.
Mhm. Yeah, that would have been awesome. And number two, yes, the tailgate was awesome. And I also say this, guys, you guys were at least a part of the tailgate that was the biggest one we've ever had. I don't know, can't remember what time exactly y'all left, but they're about an hour and a half
or something. Yeah.
Okay, so about an hour and a half, 2 hours, man. That was the most people we've ever had. I mean, that thing was, it was shoulder to shoulder, but it was a good time. Yeah, a good time. And
star-studded event.
yes,
It was,
yes, yes, because us three were there, obviously, and that's why. So, but yeah,
There was
go
also
ahead.
there was
Go
also a
ahead.
proposal for future home games, given the setup of being able to do the post-game show out there. It's just, something we can consider in the
The only
future.
problem I have with it is, dude, that internet there is
Yeah.
so bad. You cannot
Yeah.
do anything in that specific spot. But maybe after a game, it'll be a little bit better. But
Yeah, it's awesome too. And also just APB, if anybody has any pit passes, I think they're lot 300 now, or the former lot 44. If you have any for sale, hit me up, because we would like to have them for the next couple of games. So anyways, all right, Andrew, what's your best of the weekend?
so nobody went with Jake Bates.
It's going to go with it later, but you can go with it.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about using him, and then I saw him the video in here. So I mean, I'll just go ahead and say Jake Bates. He was among my best of the week, but I had like 4 that I was just going to rapid fire. But first, I wanted to talk about Jake Bates, who hit a game-winning field goal for the Detroit Lions. We've had him on here before on our best of the weekend, because he's one of the best kickers in the NFL and was a backup kicker at Arkansas. How about that? But this is really cool about him, just speaking about his journey.
18 months ago, I thought I was done with football. I was working as a brick salesman in Houston. I thought the dream was dead. It also makes me look back and think of how good the Lord's been in my life, and the doors He's opened and closed for me to lead me here and to lead me in such a great situation with this coaching staff and this front office and these teammates. It's definitely something that's like I couldn't even have dreamt of this. Like this moment is so cool, and I'm taking it in stride and I'm having fun with it.
The man was selling bricks.
Yeah, well, boy was moving bricks before this.
He's bricked up, man. He's bricked up out there.
I think you go to jail for that kind of stuff back in the day.
I wouldn't admit that on a mic. Yeah.
Dude, I'll say this: it is a cool story, but it's also just so telling how, like, in the NFL, especially with kickers, dude, man, it is a crapshoot about like so many. I feel like so many kickers, more so than almost any position. It's like guys that were really good out of high school or really good in college don't really get anything going there in the NFL. But then you got a guy like this who, it was not somebody coming out of high school. It was a big deal. Kind of went to some colleges, was playing in the UFL or whatever. Then boom, here he is being one of the best NFL kickers. It's just weird how that turns out. It really is.
Yeah. Few other my rapid fire best of the weekend. Francis Ngannou. John, do you know that name at all?
I do know that name, but I think it's because you've said it before. But yes,
Gotcha. Well, Francis Ngannou, dude, they're going to have to do a movie about his life. His whole story is incredible. I mean, he was born in Cameroon, swam to France to find a better life for himself. Got arrested when he was in France. Was homeless in France for a while. Ended up joining an MMA gym, joining the UFC, becoming a UFC champion. And then he boxed Tyson Fury, boxed Anthony Joshua, made a boatload of money. He made his return to MMA the other day on Saturday and won via first round knockout. And he also lost his son. He had like a 2 or 3 year old son that passed away tragically like 3 or 4 months ago. And so this is his first fight since then. And like as soon as they stopped the fight, he just broke down in tears and was like, all I could think about was my son. This was for him and all that. And so it's just like a really, really awesome moment for one of the coolest athletes ever. And I hope they make a movie about his life because he's the man. Also, the Penguin. I tweeted about this morning. I've been waiting a while to like really start hyping up the Penguin. It's one of the best shows on television, right? I mean, right now it definitely is. I'm kind of blown away by how good it was. So for those that don't know what I'm talking about, The Batman was a movie that came out a couple years ago. Robert Pattinson, Batman. There's a character, the Penguin. If y'all remember Danny DeVito back in the day, playing the weird version of him that was like literally eating raw fish and had all the weird stuff. This is a lot less cartoony version of it. But this character is basically Tony Soprano, but in Gotham. and it's a freaking awesome show. It's it's not for the kids. Maybe don't show the kids this one. I know you think Batman, Batman and the Penguin. I could show my 8-year-old. No, this is very hardcore stuff, but it's a good little mob story in Gotham. It is freaking awesome. Last week's episode was like one of the best I've seen, and they followed it up this week. So now they're 5 episodes in. Safe to say we got a banger on our hands.
I like that. I like that a lot, man. And I got to say, I'm not a political guy, and I promise I'm not making any political statement here, but seeing the clips of Donald Trump passing out fries at the McDonald's drive-thru,
100%.
That's pretty funny. Man. That was good.
Yeah. I mean, that's something like just the image is just wild, but it's funny. It's pretty awesome there.
Scooping it in. He's like, 45-degree angle. Fry does not touch the human hand into the. I was like, all right, dude.
Putting on his apron and everything. I was like, man, I haven't seen many McDonald's workers have an apron, but maybe they do. I just don't pay attention.
There was a stretch where like celebrities were doing that. Like I remember Lana Del Rey working at Waffle House. Like there was a big
bunch of people going Cane's.
Yeah, Cane's is the popular one, and I feel like somebody. Oh, the Dallas Mavericks were at Cane's the other day. A couple of their players, and Luka was not in the video, and they're like, "Boy, Luka got in line. He didn't want to work. He wanted to get in line.
He had to eat caniac."
I just can imagine like pulling up at their drive-thru, just ordering, my hot and spicy McChicken with a large fry, and then it's President Trump just handing it to me.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'd say, but
was it Snoop Dogg that was at the MLK Cane's?
Yes. Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
I know. No one got the chance to see Shaq after his concert, right? I don't think he was at the game on Saturday.
Nah, I feel like we would have heard about that.
The game?
I mean,
when they did this, when his concert was on Friday, that was because I was like, oh, his alma mater's in town. He would go to the game. He must. Maybe I guess he was very hidden if he was at the game.
Dude, there is no way. If anybody that can stay hidden, I don't think Shaquille O'Neal is the one that you could really be incognito.
His hall call was pretty electric, though.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
He bent knees all the way to the ground when he was, pig suey. Like he was really getting into it.
I think that he had to break the record for the largest man to ever call the Hogs.
Yeah.
I feel like you got to put that in the record books. All right, so moving on to the worst of the weekend. This is one that a lot of people know, but I'm throwing Texas in here, man. Losing to Georgia didn't break my heart, but this happened after the controversial call that ended up being fined for Texas in the pass interference. So this is what transpired. There's a lot of it on this play that's bad, but the worst of the weekend for one is Texas fans. Shut up. Like this idea that I'm not justifying it in any ways, but this idea that in the middle of a game where it's still in doubt, there's still a lot of time left, you get one call that didn't go your way, that you have no video evidence yet played or anything of how terrible of a call it was, and you just start tossing trash. Shows how trashy you are and how a bunch of entitled little babies. This is the worst thing that ever happened to Texas is them being ranked number 1 in football, because this is exactly how a team that has no idea how to deal with that level of success acts if something doesn't go their way. And then the officials, which was weird, coming out there and saying pass interference, blah, 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 throw on the field. They come back and they're like, actually there wasn't any more pass interference. Well, you can't review pass interference, so how did you change the call? The official erred on his call originally. Oh, okay. So what? I'm not saying it did, but it looked like they got bullied into changing the call there after throwing the trash and the water bottles on the field. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, it did look like that, man. And what's up with orange fan bases throwing stuff on the field? Like they were throwing golf balls and mustard bottles at Lane Kiffin in Tennessee a couple years ago, and now we got Texas out here acting crazy. And yeah, you're right though. There's so many layers to this, and I thought this might come up, to add on to that for a worst of the weekend. Then the SEC comes out and they're making their statement. It's like, we're not revoking the alcohol sales at Texas, but we reserve the right to do so. And it's just like, all right,
relax.
Yeah. Pump the brakes there a little bit, Greg.
Yeah. It's not like all 100 and whatever thousand people there in Texas Stadium were just tossing things. It's like you're talking about probably 50 water bottles, which is too much, and you got to do something about it.
Sure.
But you fine them, okay. Yeah, but this idea of just like, well, we're going to have prohibition happen there in Austin, Texas, and we're going to pull the alcohol away from you.
Turn the clock back a century.
And then Texas is going to be like, no, you're not. You know how much money we make on that stuff? It's like, you just fine us, like, because they probably make millions. But to also add to that too, I love that they have identified a lot of the Texas students that were throwing their water bottles through video evidence. But this text message went out to these particular individuals saying, quote, "We have identified that you were throwing items onto the Texas Longhorns field from the student section. As a result, your big ticket has been revoked for the 2024-2025 academic calendar. If you have any questions, please contact Texas Athletics. Thank you."
Just a link to the team website.
Yeah, they're getting those clicks, baby. Trying to get those out there.
Big ticket capitalized as a choice, but
I guess, yeah, I saw that and I was like, man, imagine being that person. Like, who was going through the evidence of like a 4K is like, all right, we got to find out who did these. Like, and what if you're wrong? Like,
There's
what
no way that's real, right?
I mean, I don't know. The internet said it, so it should be true.
Well, I hope it's real.
Yeah,
if someone would do that, just put out blatant lies on the internet.
Yeah, who would ever do such a thing? But yeah, it was just a joke. I was glad to see Texas lose that way. And also shout out to Georgia's AD, where I don't know if you guys saw his tweet. He did, say what you want if you agree or whatever. That's how an AD wins points with the fan base and everybody, where he's like, hey, we don't want to come out here and want to clown on officials. However, whatever happened to that thing cannot happen again, and we want some answers from it. So shout out to him as well.
Yeah. Well, I had 3 worst of the weekends, and 2 of them we've already talked about. It was Brian Kelly's homecoming rant, and it was obviously this Texas thing. My other one was just the hypocrisy from BBN. They were just all in the comments about, what's going, like, why are they not filling up the arenas for John Calipari? They're 4 hours away from campus in Pine Bluff. And then you have your blue-white scrimmage and nobody's there. Shame.
I am so glad you brought that up, Curse, because I had forgotten about it. I am so glad you did, because what a joke. Andrew, I know you tweeted about it. I know I tweeted about it. One of my favorite comments was a Kentucky fan coming in there in my mention saying, hey, the tickets were $100. I mean, come on. What are you expecting over here? It's like, it's not what
they were charging fans $75, $50 for that Pine Bluff event, and
Yeah.
I mean, listen, but I thought this was the Mech. I thought everyone was excited. Yeah, that crowd, I was like, ooh, man. Cal, how could you leave that to come over here to Fayetteville? I mean, come on now. That was pretty phenomenal. It's amazing how many just didn't respond and shut up after that. It's amazing how that works. All right, Andrew, what's your worst of the weekend?
I'm glad that both of y'all took y'all's worst of the weekend opportunity to just make fun of programs or teams that we don't like. Because I'm going to do the same a little bit. My worst of the weekend was the World Series matchup has been set. The Yankees and Dodgers are going to meet in the World Series, and this is a big week for casual fandom. I feel like nobody from that's a fan of either of those teams is from LA or New York. It's just kind of one of those things where it's just like they're such a big market, but they're in the World Series and that sucks. And it really never works out this way, where like the 2 highest budgets, like the highest payrolls in the league, end up in the World Series. But when it does, it really just feels not right. And I actually tweeted about this because someone posted a video of Juan Soto's home run the other day to kind of clinch it, and they put like the Moneyball music behind it. I'm like, I don't think y'all know what Moneyball. That was not the plot of Moneyball. That was the exact opposite. They had the lowest budget, and they were trying to kind of make it work through analytics, not just having a $400 million team. But not thrilled about that. And I will just be pretending that I would much prefer the Dodgers to win, though. Shohei, that's about it. Just like they're just a little bit less likable. The Yankees, I really cannot afford to have the Yankees win, because the guy Michael who called into the show is an LSU fan and a Yankees fan. So if LSU whipped up on Arkansas and the Yankees win the World Series, it's gonna be bad.
I'm just gonna say I feel seen, because before Andrew even said anything, I was like, you know what, I'm kind of excited about this World Series, and I look forward to both these teams. And then it's just like casual baseball fans. Yep, that's me. And like just
casual, because like I was saying, like fans of their fan base. Like if you're a Dodgers fan, you're a casual baseball observer. If you're a Yankees fan, You're probably just a casual observer. You know what I mean? Like it's a big week. It's like when the Cowboys and like I'm trying to think like Cowboys 49ers or Cowboys Packers or whoever, like the two just biggest fan bases.
Well, see, that's kind of how I looked. I was like, I like, since I'm not a baseball fan of a team, I kind of like the two biggest markets, two very high payrolls, but a lot of superstardom. It's kind of a cool thing. But I totally get it though. If you're like a fan of, a smaller market, or you're one of those that hates people like me, which I know there's a lot. That's fine, but yeah, I am rooting for the Dodgers as well, though.
I would like to see Shohei get a ring.
There are a lot of very good baseball players playing in this series. Like the star power is absolutely there, and you can buy a championship.
You can do it. Yeah. In fact, you probably should.
But here's the thing: the Dodgers. It's absurd. I mean, you guys know this more than me. It's absurd how many times each and every year it's kind of been like, oh, they have a great player in free agency. Oh, they got him. Oh, there's a great player that's looking for a trade. Oh, they got him. And yet they've only won one World Series,
and it was a Mickey Mouse one.
Yep, according to my buddy Devin, that's a Mickey Mouse championship. So if the Dodgers win, maybe this will be the Foghorn Leghorn championship or something like that to others. But yeah.
Before we continue, I want to give a shout out because I see my nephew in the chat, who is actually under Robin285, which is my sister. I see my nephew in the chat. He was in our post-game chat. He's 8 years old. And he was in our chat the other day post-game, and I didn't see it until after the show, but I wanted to give him a shout out. He's a great child. Carson, you're the man, and I love you. And go to school. Why are you not at school? It's 2:00 in the afternoon. What are you doing? Is there a holiday today? What's going on?
No, maybe.
Why is my nephew not at school?
Great kid, exemplary young man, not in school.
He's being a truant. Yeah.
Listen, he may be a delinquent a little bit, but I mean, there has to be something going on.
Yeah. I will say that there have been other people that have not had school today, because I think my nephews or one of my nephews doesn't have school, so maybe there's some sort of like in-service day
or something.
Yeah, happy Leif Erikson Day. Love the SpongeBob reference there.
I love this Leif Erikson Day. It is a SpongeBob reference. I know what you're referencing, but
yes, thank you.
That we're like, SpongeBob reference.
Yeah, Eric, as we said, let me know when y'all are at the LEROY Lounge. Well, we'd love to have you there, Eric. And Thursday night, 7 p.m. We will be there. Also, a few other chats. Oh yeah, we got to do this real quick before we wrap up. Oh. Andrew Ellis with that stash. Yeah, I did notice it. I didn't want to say. I didn't want to spoil the thunder, but yeah, Ellis, the stash. What gives?
Time for a change after the weekend, huh?
Need a change. The last time I shaved and put out just the stash, Arkansas. Or actually, no, I guess I didn't have the stash whenever Arkansas beat UAPB. I just shaved completely, and everyone was shaming me for it. But the last time I shaved, Arkansas put up 70 points and 1,000 yards of offense. I'm trying to channel that energy.
There we go.
And you just need a vibe shift, as a baseball guy, which I am through and through. I'm very superstitious, and if Arkansas wins this weekend, I'll wear that same underwear the next weekend. It's just how it works.
I'll admit, I'm the lame one, because I have not changed. I don't think I've changed my look in about 6 years. I haven't shaved my beard. I haven't had a different haircut. I haven't grown it out, anything. So I don't know. Maybe it is time for me to have a vibe change. But I hate the way I look without a beard.
Yeah, I don't know what you would look like without a beard.
I've never heard that one.
Just imagine like a baby face and then a double chin, and
Josh
that's what
Heupel?
you get. Yeah, I'm gonna be Josh Heupel for Halloween. Just shave my beard, wear some orange. Oh, everyone's like, oh, it's Josh Heupel. What are you doing here? Yeah, but same vibes. But that's why I don't want to shave. I have the beard to cover up the bottom half of my face. A few other chats here before we get out of here. Jeff says, John, you must have a great therapist, because your whole attitude and body are totally different today than it was during post game, just like after that Texas A&M game.
It's called sobering up, and no.
yeah. Let's just say it's called that. It's called also getting a good night's sleep. It's called not going hard in the paint for about 18 hours in a single day.
Not being in a parking garage.
Yeah, not being in a parking garage, not just witnessing something that pissed me off. But yeah, other than that, it was my therapist, totally. So that's what made the difference in all of it.
Morning therapy before the show today.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Kingsley. Look at this. Just applied for a gig at Walmart corporate. Keep me lifted up. If I get it, I could slide through some LEROY shows.
Let's go.
This is big time. This is a big time development. The last, when the one and only time we've hung out with Kingsley in real life, I was like, dude, just move to Fayetteville. Like, what are you doing?
I mean, Walmart's always in the chat, so They're seeing
It's
this.
true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Apparently, we got ties. We can shift some of that NIL budget over to you. Pay your salary.
That's right, Kingsley. Well, hey, good luck, Kingsley. Hopefully you get it, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get it. Let's see, Michelle coming in. Hunting day?
Oh, because I was wondering why my nephews weren't at school. Which, by the way,
Do they have a hunting day?
Was speculating. We got the Metcalf family in our chat. Shout out to the Metcalf family. They've always been good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fall break. So okay, so I'm honestly asking, hunting day, is that a thing?
Apparently they don't have school today. So I mean, maybe it is some type of weird fall break thing. When I went to Louisiana Tech, we were on a quarter system where we had a random fall break in the middle of October, which I always hated because nobody else was out of school. But I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, the only fall break I remember having is Thanksgiving break. That was my fall break, like the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday deal. But
also, what is hunting day? I've seen because I see SCT is hunting day. Is that a specific like?
I think it's just when people go hunt.
Okay.
Yeah, I know there's some small schools in like Stuttgart and stuff. Like when hunting season opens up, I think they go hunting.
I'm sure I've told you about the Squirrel Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure I've told it on air before. I'm just not going to retell it again. But we used to get off for squirrel season, except it was an excused absence that my mom would still make me go. Messed up.
Oh, maybe that's not what I thought it was. I thought there was a day that involved a squirrel that involved a football game. Is that?
Well, there was. Yeah. So It was Menard High School versus Buckeye High School, which I didn't go to Buckeye High School, but my dad taught there. They play on a Thursday night, and it's the day before squirrel season.
Okay.
And so there was a squirrel bowl on Thursday, and then that Friday was an excused absence at the schools. But at my elementary school, my mom still made me go because she worked at the school, and she was like, if I'm going to work, you're going to school. So
there you go.
Yeah. Sorry, I went to Fayetteville High School. I never got off for any cool stuff other than when protest happened at my school. I did get off for those.
Well, people might be in luck here in a couple weeks. So,
man,
if you're not getting off school for some type of hunting or rifle season or something, you're not blue collar, in my opinion.
Well, I'll tell you this: I don't think anyone's accusing Fayetteville of being blue collar of a high school.
Right?
I don't think that's
Curtis,
the case.
As small town guys, me and Curtis, we're just like we just there's a little bit of a separation, between your the silver spoon lifestyle that you had growing up versus the grit and the grime that we endured.
That's right.
Trust me, dude, when I was working in Little Rock, I heard about it all the time. They're just like, yo, you're from that big city up there. It was like, big city? It's like, I've never really thought about it being big city. But yeah, that's like, oh, you got all them fancy things up there and those cars. It's like, yeah, well, they do have cars.
Hey, John, I'll give you the worst of the weekend. Your Jets, dude.
Well, I mean, like, hey, listen, you don't have to tell me. It's every year. Like, it's not like it's like, oh man, where did this come from? It's like, this is shocking. It's like, no, this is the Jets. It's what they do. Like Zach Wilson had a better record through 6 games last year than the Jets do right now.
Did you know Zach Wilson's younger brother is the quarterback at Utah?
No,
Isaac?
but it's not surprising.
Isaac Wilson, that is his younger brother, and their offensive coordinator quit today.
Good.
Very interesting.
Well, the Jets still suck. Again, I was born to be a Razorback fan and a Jets fan, and I just love struggle and pain.
Love that.
Apparently, yeah, I just love trash football most of the time. Apparently, so. All right, guys. Anything else before we get out of here? Before we wrap up shop here? Final thoughts?
No. Basketball plays Friday. That'll be cool.
They do.
We'll talk about that.
It's gonna be a game that only matters if Arkansas wins.
Also true.
Yep.
Oh, I did hear that we're worried about like Jonas Adu. Is he going to play? Is he not? Because he's been in and out of practice. I've also heard that Hunter Dickinson's got an ankle sprain and he's like 50-50 on.
Ooh.
So it just might be guards on guard, which I'm fine with.
Yeah. It's again, nobody's going to take too much seriously from it. But that you brought it up, Curtis, I'm going to be honest. I don't know about parking, folks. Stop asking me. I feel like Nick Saban. I got DM'd about parking. I don't know. I do not know. The only people that will know will be the University of Arkansas. Contact them. If I hear anything, I'll be sure to spread the message. But I have no idea where you're supposed to park.
Have y'all seen some of the reporters have been like posting the scores of the secret scrimmages?
Yeah.
I saw Tennessee play, and I think they beat Davidson. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
There were a few like pretty solid little matchups in the secret scrimmages.
Baylor beat A&M in a close
and it
game.
was like 91 to 80 something, right?
Yeah.
Oklahoma caught an L against somebody.
Coachless Virginia got blown out. So,
yeah. Was it like 74-47 against somebody?
VCU or something. Yeah.
That's still crazy, dude. It's still such a crazy story.
I will say though, before we get out of here, because you said, do we have anything left? And we were about to talk for like 4 minutes there. This week actually is like we're entering a really good. I mean, it's a good sports month. October is maybe the best sports month, but this is actually like going to be a pretty cool week because the Mississippi State game still a lot of stakes in it. Like it still matters a good bit. Hogs need to win that one. Basketball, like you mentioned, Friday, like that's going to be fun. We're just entering a nice little stretch where like things are about to ramp up for us, and I am very excited.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome. So that being said, you better be subscribed to our YouTube channel here on Inside Arkansas for all of that content. We're putting out stuff daily here on our YouTube page, not just press conferences and whatnot. Like we are putting out unique, creative content daily here on our YouTube page at Inside Arkansas, as well as on our website at InsideArkansas.com. Constant content when it comes to covering all things Razorbacks. You need to check that out as well. Follow us on all social medias at Inside Arkansas. If you're not doing all this and you're watching us, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what your problem is. You got issues. So get after it. Follow us. Subscribe to us. Check us out at InsideArkansas.com. And we're going to keep it going. So for Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I'm John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. And we'll see you then.